Hey, what's up, guys? It's Drew here. Quick video blog. I want to talk today about the left and mob mentality. Um, I touched on this a little bit in my other videos, and it's always underlying my videos. But my last video, I touched on it because Kavanaugh, although he has not been confirmed guilty of anything, the left has piled on this guy, assuming that Dr. Ford is telling the truth without even them knowing for sure. They've piled on to Kavanaugh. They've called him a rapist. They called him a sexual assaulter and everything, everything negative. They're vandalizing his home and all this other stuff. They're subjecting his family to a lot of danger. So, um, let's talk about this. Mob mentality in general. I personally cannot stand mob mentality. I can't stand large groups of non-thinking conformists attacking a minority group of people or a minority of people or an individual. I cannot stand it. I can't stand it. It represents the absolute lowest of humanity when people do those things. It's the same mentality behind people in third world countries today that get burned because they're alleged to have been practicing witchcraft. It's the same that they get burned alive. By the way, you see these videos. You go to some African countries, they burn people alive for the alleged or for the allegation of practicing witchcraft. They still do that in third world countries. People in history that got lynched for reckless eyeballing or claims of sexual assault that turned out to not be true, like Emmett Till. People today that get accused of something and they don't like Kavanaugh he may not have been lynched, he may not have been burned, but you better believe that if this was a third world country, or if it was back in history, he would have been a victim of that. Now, at the end of the day, I'm not even trying to talk about Kavanaugh specifically in this video. I'm just trying to talk about the dangers of mob mentality, because it seems to be that everything that the liberals do, everything that the leftists do, point us in this direction of mob mentality. They say, oh, well, the majority wants it. The majority wants you to give up 90% of your income. So, you may work your butt off, but it doesn't matter. The majority says you got to give up 90% of your income. It's democracy. It's democracy. Or the majority wants you to cut your balls off. Oh, it's a majority. It's a majority. Anything the majority says, people justify heinous acts and despicable acts of humanity by saying, oh, the majority allows it. We live in a republic for a reason. In a republic, the individual is supposed to be protected. The individual is the smallest minorities that there is. The individual, okay? And to me, it's crazy. Right now, you see on the internet, everybody's mocking Kanye West for coming out in support of Donald Trump and for publicly stating his opinion and saying he won't allow himself to be bullied. So you see people like, you see people like Snoop Dogg. If you ask me, Snoop Dogg has never been, I don't think Snoop Dogg has ever been, he is an individual. There's no one really around like Snoop Dogg, but he's just typically towing the line that you would expect a black man to toe. The same thing. And then people say, oh, well, what about Kaepernick? Dude, if Kaepernick, go look at Kaepernick's picture from 12 years ago. He was trying to fit in 12 years ago with the general status quo 12 years ago. If you look at him 12 years ago, he's got a completely different haircut. He hangs with completely different crowd of people. Then fast forward to present day, because it's acceptable and now it's the in thing and it's a trendy thing to grow an afro and call yourself a Black Panther and all this stuff. Now he does it. Now he does it. Tell me at what point in history would they used to never put, a person perpetuating Black Panther logic on the cover of a magazine, or, better yet, they'd never use that to promote a product. A major corporation would never back somebody like that before, but today it's the accepted thing. Today, the corporations and the magazines and the media have gotten intelligent. They've honed into people's insecurities and people's obsession with race and anything that identifies with the self. They've honed into that and realized, wow, there's a lot of capital to be made here. There's a lot of money to be made here. There's a lot. We can really, really move demographics if we get people to focus on their skin color, their gender, their sexual orientation. If we get people to hone in on their differences and to feel like they're persecuted because of their differences, man, we could really generate a lot of money here. That's what these corporations and these media channels are doing now. They're hip to it. They understand what's going on. Mob mentality is dangerous, okay? It's dangerous. And not only is it dangerous, it enables the weakest among us to feel like they're invincible. It enables the weakest among us to feel like they have strength. It enables the weakest among us to feel like they're powerful. Okay? You know those little people, you know those people who would never get on stage and speak by themselves to a group of people who have opposing ideology, but they want to make fun of Kanye, who's able to do that. He's able to go into a room wearing a hat that everybody despises and speak things to a group of people who don't agree with him. That's brave. That's brave. He's going against the tide. He's going against the status quo. He's going against what is expected of him as a black man. You know, and, you know, people may say, oh, you know, well, some people say to me, you know, Drew, you've got a lot of courage. You do the same thing. Well, for me, I don't even know for me if it's courage or if it's just the lack of, I just don't care. I don't know if it's courage. I just don't care. I see myself, and you might not agree with me. You might say, oh, you shouldn't see yourself as above anybody. But I honestly I think that people who don't think for themselves and just lump themselves into categories and into groups mindlessly, I view them as so low. My opinion of them is so low. Why would I bother myself with trying to fit into their ideology? It's not up to me to get on their level. It's up to them to come up to my level. You know, when people come at me and say, oh, you're an Uncle Tom and you're a coon because you don't do what's accepted of a black person. You don't do what's accepted of a black man. You're an Uncle Tom. You're a coon. What's wrong with you? You're a slave. All this other stuff. You have to understand, my opinion of people who talk like that is so low. Sometimes they're not even worth a response. Sometimes I give them a response because I'm hopeful on some level that my interaction with them would help them understand that we're more than just this exterior here. You know, beyond this exterior, there's a will. You know, it's to the point where I don't mean to get so deep and so metaphysical on you guys, but it's to the point where if you were to put a different person in my body, my facial expressions would change. My facial expressions would not look the same. The way that I express myself would be completely different if you put somebody else's soul in my body. Do you understand? I'm trying to express to you guys and anybody who's watching this who disagrees with me that we're more than just this. We're more than just this. We're more than just this skin color. We're more than just this. I'm more than just black hair and a beard, dude. I'm more than just this big African nose, man. I'm just trying to explain to you guys. We're more than that. So much more. And if we allow the media and we allow these celebrities and we allow these engines to really just put us in these categories where we only identify ourselves as these physical parts, we limit our growth internally. You know, when you can't peacefully disagree with somebody and their points of views, you are lost as a human being. It's just, if you can't entertain a thought that's opposing yours without becoming enraged, there's something wrong. It means that you're not in control of yourself. Somebody else, something else is. And as a human being, the only thing that separates you from a wild animal is your ability to rationalize, your ability to think. That's what makes us human, is it not? Isn't it what makes us view elephants and dolphins and chimpanzees as animals that shouldn't be in cages? Whereas when we see insects, when we see ants, right, we step on them, no problem, right? Why? You know why? Why? Because people view intelligent life as something that should be protected. It's at the deepest core of our being. We inherently know that we should be thinking. We should be using our faculties as human beings. We should be growing our minds. We should be growing our spirits. We should be growing our souls. It's a regression of thought to to act or to engage in acts that encourage lack of thought. I'm not gonna listen, man. I love women. I respect women. Okay, I respect women. All right, but let's be honest. Okay, in the order of in human civilization, women in general are known to be more emotional. Their brains work differently than men. Okay, it's not a coincidence that the liberals and the leftists want children and want women to lead our country and our society. That's not a coincidence. That's not a coincidence. They want women and children. Check this out. When people say, "Oh, women and children first. Women and children must be protected. Women and children, women, protected by whom? Who do they go before? They go before us men. Why? Why are they a protected class? Because women, for the most part, are physically not always as enabled as men. They're not always as logical as men. The same thing as children. So we are put here as men to be logical, to be leaders, to think rationally, to make smart decisions. I'm not saying women can't make smart decisions, because they can. It's just that they think a little bit differently. They use their emotions a lot more. It's not a coincidence that the Democrats and liberals want us to be led by women and children, and they put women and children on pedestals in leadership positions primarily, and they force it. They're trying to enforce it. If you look at California, they're trying to enforce it. And I'm not saying that women shouldn't be in leadership positions. I absolutely agree that they should. But there shouldn't be some kind of force to force it. It should be a natural progression. So you have to think about what they're trying to push. They're trying to push this mindless, thoughtless, reactive mentality where they throw things in front of our faces and they say jump and we jump. That's what they're trying to do. So when you see a viewpoint like mine that differs from yours, if you're a liberal watching this, be grateful that I have a different thought pattern. It's people like me. It's people like me, the individuals, people like me that keep our society functioning. Otherwise, we'd all be robots. We'd all think the same way. We have to think differently. I appreciate when I meet a liberal who thinks differently than me and can educate me from their point of view without becoming belligerent. We have to do those things. You know, I'm not the one. I'm very rarely the one to throw the first blow, but I will respond with overwhelming force if anybody attacks me. That's just how I am. I believe in responding with overwhelming force. That's what I believe in. Somebody attacks you, I respond with overwhelming force, strategy, thought. You know, somebody wants to destroy me, you first. You know, but at the end of the day, but I'm not the first one. I'm not the first one to initiate. I don't throw the first punch, but I will counter punch. I will counter the heck out of your punch. So at the end of the day, we have to elevate ourselves as human beings, not regress. How can you guys call yourself progressives if you are destroying and you're attacking every single thought that enables us to progress, enables us to become more cordial with each other? I understand that there are some things that are repulsive to you that you can't stand, but this is not the way to go about it. You know, you don't shed potentially innocent blood. You don't condemn potentially innocent people. It's not the way to go about it. There should be something in your soul that tells you that that's wrong. You ask questions before you decide to destroy somebody's life. You find out if it's absolutely, positively true. You don't just go out of your way to destroy somebody's life without facts. It's crazy. Anyway, I don't mean to lecture you. It's a 14-minute video now. It's longer than I thought it would be. Leave some comments. I want to hear your thoughts. Peace.